Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Eric the Car Guy. I'm Eric the Car Guy. Today we have a 1999 Acura TL, 3.2 TL to be precise, and it has a code P0401 and also some random misfire codes. In a situation like this, the P0401 means EGR flow is insufficient, and in order to fix it on this particular car, we need to remove the intake and clean the EGR passage. Given that, I thought, well, I've got all these viewers out there. Maybe they'd love to see me do that. So let's do that. Let's take this intake off, clean the EGR passage, put it all back together, and send it on its way. Let's get started. Our journey begins here at the intake, and we need to take this plastic cover off. 4 10mm fasteners. Next we have this piece back here. We have to take the throttle body off, and it helps to take this part of the airbox off also. Map sensor. Take this hose out, and then there's this hose right here. You should be able to just pull out. Now I'm going to remove this screw. You can put a little penetrating oil on this to help it come loose better. Pull this hose out also for the PCV system. There are 4 fasteners around the outside of the top of the airbox. Normally there's a little clip that holds this cruise control cable in. These are 8mm, by the way. That one's broken. And that one's broken too. I guess that makes my life easier. Now, some of these, yeah, this one does. Now these early models have this clipped back in here for the coolant for the air intake. So just unhook that from there. And then there's part of the muffler assembly that is down here that you need to keep an eye out for. But once you've unhooked all that, you should be able to just lift it right out. Next, there are 4 fasteners around the outside of the throttle body. 1, 2, 3, 4 under here. They're 12mm, by the way. Somebody put a 13 on there. That just messes me all up. Now you shouldn't have to disconnect anything else, but a lot of times what I'll do, now this is already a little bit, it's already loose and ready to come off. But in order to break this loose, a lot of times I'll just take a hammer and give it a tap right there and it'll pop loose. And you kind of want to do it that way because you want to try to keep this gasket intact. You mess this gasket up, you got yourself a vacuum leak, and that'll create another set of problems. On the back side of the intake, you have this connector here for the air temperature sensor, and then you've got these hoses. Now, all these hoses go into the same spot. So personally, I like to just remove, there's two 10mm fasteners here, that I just take those out instead of taking the hoses off of here. Now be careful because there's a gasket here that you don't want to lose. Here's that gasket I was talking about. Don't lose this. Put it someplace safe. And remember, the little tab goes down over here if you're looking at it on your left. Now over on this side, we have this little hose right here. It's connected. We need to take that off. I'm now going to remove all these fasteners here. They're all 12 millimeter. Now that you have all those fasteners out, you can lift up, but be mindful that these studs are still inside the throttle body, so I pick it up, push it forward, and away we go. Now this is a pretty common code on this car. In fact, later models, they have a plate on the top of the intake that you can remove. But this one just has this single passage here, and as you can see, it's pretty disgusting. But that's not the passage we're looking to clean. We're going to clean the passage in the intake. Now here's the culprit here. Here's what it is in the top of the intake. Initially when we got these in, we installed a kit. So there, we put a metal sleeve in here. And I'm just going to say that this is like gross and disgusting. When I'm pulling out of here, this engine has 270,000 miles on it, 75,000 miles on it, by the way. So there is that, but normally this will be full of like crusty black stuff, and I won't be able to just slide my screwdriver in here like this. And that's normally what I'll use, is I'll just use a screwdriver, or just some kind of equivalent to scrape this out. Maybe, yeah, this one has been done, because if you see what looks like a metal sleeve, or a metal sleeve comes out of this hole, that was installed at the dealer. That was part of our update. And I'm just using, actually it's Honda throttle plate cleaner, but you can use carburetor cleaner or whatever to help dissolve this. So once you've got the majority of the gunk cleaned out, come at it with some throttle cleaner. But you can kind of see the edge of that sleeve that we would put into these things at the dealer. We drill the hole out bigger and put in this metal sleeve. Alright, now back on the car, you can see that this doesn't look so good either. And that passage leads down here and through this manifold here to the actual EGR valve. This is the EGR valve. So that opens up and allows EGR that comes, there's a passage inside the cylinder head that actually allows it to come up there. Keep an eye out around this area, like where that tube goes in. That actually goes to the back of the water pump. There's some O-rings there. Keep an eye out for any, if you see coolant down in the intake manifold, or the valley on top of the cylinder block, well, that might be why. Sometimes those O-rings leak. Not often, but sometimes. It's actually more common for the gaskets on here and here to leak on this assembly that goes to the coolant. So it carries coolant from one side to the other. It's more common for that to happen. And while I'm in here, I'm also going to clean out the throttle body, just because it's right there. If I'm honest, I was expecting to see more goop and crusty goop, but really I'm just seeing a lot of that. Don't worry about the gasket. I never replaced them, and I really haven't had an issue. Let's take the intake and just sort of take those studs and guide them into the top there, and then drop it on to the studs there. I want to try to hook this hose back up now. I've got some wiggle room here. And then put all your fasteners back in. Hook this guy back up. Don't forget your gasket. It's in there. Now I'll just take my fasteners and put them through the holes to hold the gasket in place. While we're here, plug in the air temperature sensor again. Now we have our other fasteners. Put the air box back on. Now, for these little things that you got to slip into these things back here, I just take a little bit of silicone spray. Just spray it into those little slots. I try not to get it like inside here because silicone's really not good for O2 sensors, but for stuff on the outside, these rubber things, a little bit of silicone helps them go together nice. You hook your map sensor back up. Put that coolant line back in. PCV lines, all that stuff. And then don't forget the one in the back. That one's also important. Use the same screwdriver for your air filter housing, actually. And since it looks like I only have one bolt that's holding this on, it's going to be easy. Lastly, put your engine cover back on. Hola! Next part's easy. You just go in and either clear the code with a scan tool, or you can disconnect the negative battery cable and hold it off there for about 10-15 seconds and reconnect it. And that should clear the code for you. Take it out for a nice test drive. I often see this code associated with misfire codes, which I had in this case, but I was a little surprised to see that there wasn't like gummed up hard carbon inside that hole, because that's normally what I usually see. Given that there may be an EGR problem, it's not nearly as common as the flow problem or it getting clogged up. There was some goo that I got out of there. Whether or not that was enough, it's hard to say. Like I said, this engine has 275,000 miles on it, so it's probably showing its age given the amount of gook that there was floating around inside that intake. Probably some blow-by, things like that. But fairly simple, fairly straightforward. If, like I say, you have the newer style V6 from Honda that has the removable plate on the top, it's virtually the same operation, but way easier. You just remove all the fasteners for that plate, flip it over, and clean out what we called it, where I worked, the ant farm, because that's what it looks like. It's got all those little grooves. And you just clean all those out, clean all the holes going down into the intake, clean it out with some, throttle cleaner or carburetor cleaner. Or somebody said mineral spirits and a toothbrush if you're in a state that doesn't allow you to use aerosol cleaners like that. There's always an option. Anyway, I'm Eric the Car Guy. You can always find me at EricTheCarGuy.com or follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I'm a pretty likable guy. At least I think I am. That's all I got to say. So, P0401, Honda V6. This is how you solve it. Good luck. Stay dirty. See ya.